welcome to the best team you can make for Game Week 29. So for those of you on a free hit, this is ideal. And even if you don't have that chip available or you want to use it maybe in Game Week 33 or in another game week, then it doesn't matter. You can still use free transfers or maybe a hit or two to bring in some of these players that I'm going to recommend here. And there are going to be some differential picks which you can see on screen, but also some that I'm just going to recommend, which you obviously can't see here, and I'll be talking about them and explain why. But I think in goal, there is a clear winner. I think Sanchez has the best fixture. Brighton are the most likely to keep a clean sheet, at least on paper, so I would probably go for them. Over the whole season, Brighton are in the top three for expected goals conceded and even expected goals. And Newcastle, on the other hand, are just woeful. Away from home, they have the worst expected goals conceded, or at least in the bottom three. And same with expected goals scored, which is what we're mainly going to be focusing on. Because right here, you can see three Brighton, let's say defensive assets. Now, would I recommend tripling up on their defence? I'll be honest, no. But players like Veltman, for example, are very worth highlighting because even if you don't start them, you can have them on your bench. Very cheap. You have a lot of money anyway because most of the big hitters aren't actually playing this week. And let's say, for example, when Aubameyang doesn't play, you could have Veltman just ready to come on from your bench. So I do think it is worth having, at least one or two good players on your bench this week, especially with how the season has been. There's going to be possibly rotation for Spurs and Arsenal because of their Europa League commitments. But yeah, I think I always keep being asked this, and I maintain the same thing. And I'm not just saying this because Dunk just scored against Southampton, but Dunk has always been my first choice for the Brighton defence. But there's still Veltman, who's very good value for money, Ben White and Sanchez. Then there's Dan Burn, and to be honest, that injury just knocks him down even further in the list. But he's still an option if fit. So yeah, having one or two Brighton defensive assets, I would definitely recommend. And if I was on a free hit, I would probably double up with Sanchez and Dunk. I wouldn't triple up, at least not in the starting lineup, but it is worth considering. So Dunk, obviously that goal against Southampton, which I did mention, he got 10 points in Game Week 28, and he's got the most goals of any defender in the Premier League since last season with 7 goals. So he's just that aerial threat, and even he takes some set pieces himself. So yeah, Lewis Dunk is a great option. I would definitely recommend doubling up on Brighton defence. And if you want to go rogue, or should I say, if you want to be a bit more bold and go a bit different, I think tripling up on Brighton defence can really help you out. However, I do concede that I would probably only use 2 of them. And because of the amount of money we have available, so for example, with this team that you see on screen, I do have 5.3 million extra to spend. You could just upgrade the second keeper. You could have Lloris or Areola or Meslier, Fabianski or Leno. It depends on what you think is going to happen in these games. But I think Sanchez is the standout option. So I probably wouldn't recommend, or should I say, recommend someone else over him. But yeah, Sanchez is my first pick. Even Dubravka, believe it or not, he could maybe get a clean sheet. Could be a 0-0. You never know with Brighton and Newcastle. But that's what I would recommend at the back. Dallas is another one. Leeds tend to keep most of their clean sheets at Ellen Road, but going forward, they're much better away from home, and Dallas has done very, very well in those sort of fixtures. So I do think Dallas is still a great option. Do I think Leeds are going to keep a clean sheet? Well, to be honest, I probably don't think so, but it is still possible, and Dallas has that attacking return in him, so I would recommend him for sure. Then there's Cresswell. There's not much more that needs to be said about him. Probably the best defensive asset in FPL this season. He's got the assists in him. He's on set pieces. And if West Ham keep a clean sheet or he's involved in a goal, most likely he's going to get some bonus points, maybe even free. So Cresswell is someone I would recommend, although I do think Arsenal will score in that game. And speaking of Arsenal, I think another player you can go for is Tierney. From Arsenal defence, obviously there is the risk of rotation, which I've been mentioning, but yeah, Arsenal tend to rotate after a Europa League game. They did it against Leicester. They even dropped Aubameyang there. So it is definitely possible for Arteta to do something like that with Tierney, who is, well, I hope not, but it does seem like he is injury prone. But yeah, Kieran Tierney definitely the best asset I could recommend from Arsenal defence. And Anderson is there. And once again, just like Veltman, you could have him on your bench. Depends on if you fancy that clean sheet for Fulham. I don't necessarily, which is why I probably will bring in Rafinha for my own team. But Anderson is definitely an option. And you could even go for Aina or Areola, as I said before, for that defensive cover for Fulham. But other than that, there is Marja up front and there is Lookman. But I wouldn't look elsewhere, no pun intended. But sometimes maybe the fact that I'm not mentioning a certain player is why you should go for him. Maybe an Ivan Cavallero is going to do really well, but I'm not mentioning him. So who knows? Sometimes it's good to be different, not for different sake, but sometimes just back in your gut and trying to find ways where you can gain an advantage over everyone else. And that's why, for example, a triple Brighton defense could actually work very well for you. And as for the midfield, yeah, I think Rafinha is a standout pick this week and probably a good captaincy option, if anything. I know Fulham have been very good recently, but Rafinha is a great option nonetheless. Lingard has a great record against Arsenal, or at least he did over the years, and he can definitely do something. And West Ham, Arsenal is quite evenly matched. You would probably fancy West Ham a bit more based on how this season has gone, but Jesse Lingard for sure is worth considering, even as a captaincy shout. Now, Aubameyang is kind of like the main conundrum in this team because I mean, he just got benched against Spurs in such an important game because of disciplinary reasons. I think it's because he was being late or something like that. So, yeah, with Aubameyang, it's very risky. What I would say with any Arsenal assets, including Tierney or Aubameyang or Saka, all of this stuff, I know Saka's an injury concern, I would wait until the Thursday lineups before committing to any Arsenal players, even Lacazette, because whoever starts in that game might not actually start in the Saturday game, or should I say, when do they actually play? On Sunday. So just bear that in mind. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe if Aubameyang does start on the Thursday against Olympiacos, that means he doesn't play at the weekend. So we'll have to wait and see there. But he's a great differential if he does start, and he could be quite explosive. With Aubameyang, you mainly either get blanks or double digits. So there's not too much in between recently. But 8 goals in his last 8 appearances. He has found a bit of his mojo back, and he's just a clinical striker. If he does get chances, he will most likely take them. So I would recommend them. Now, with Spurs assets, you see here, and a lot of people have told me, and I understand it, especially if you're captaining Kane, then you have Son and Bale. It's basically a quadruple up on Spurs attack, which is probably far too much with how defensive they can be sometimes. But I do think Son has a great recent record against Aston Villa. He did score 2 of them last season, then he got injured, I believe. Gareth Bale, just still one of the informed attackers in the league. I know he was pretty anonymous against Arsenal, but to be honest, so was Kane, if we're being honest. So I would recommend, probably at the moment, I would edge towards Bale because of his recent role, and Son is an injury concern, but you could still double up on that midfield and have Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane is kind of the no-brainer. You don't really want to go without him. He could really damage you if you don't have him this week. But as for the other two, yeah, it's up to you if you want to triple up. I would probably just recommend the double up and yeah, go for Bale. And he is also let's say he's got less ownership, so if he does do really well, that can boost you up the ranks. And other players to consider in midfield, I'll be honest, you might hate me for this, you might think I'm just being delusional, but it's just a hunch I have. I think one of Pascal Grosch or Trossard could do very well this week, so I would recommend maybe having one of them instead of Heung-min Son, and they could do the business for you. I obviously have good memories of Pascal Grosch when I played Sky Fantasy back in 2017-18. He got me a lot of points there. He has been getting some assists, without many people realising over the last couple of game weeks. And then with Trossard, I think he scored recently. So I do think maybe one Brighton attacker is worth it. I'll be honest though, I wouldn't double or triple up on Brighton attack because I think most of the points from their team this week are going to come from the defence. That's just my opinion though, I might be wrong. But having maybe one midfielder, Trossard or Grosch, is the way to go. So that's just a hunch I have. I might be completely wrong. There is Lookman, as I already discussed before. There are other options you can go for, not just in midfield. There's Tyler Roberts from Leeds. So if you want to go different, not just for the sake of it, as I keep on saying, you want to have a bit of logic behind the madness. But there's different ways you can go about it. Maybe if you just don't want the typical triple up of Leeds with Rafinha, Dallas and Bamford, and same with Spurs and stuff like that, then that's fair enough. That's why game weeks like this are a great opportunity to settle yourself and distinguish yourself from the crowd. But yeah, from Brighton, I wouldn't go for Maupay or one of these people. I probably would go for Trossard or Grosch if you want that attacking player. Even Newcastle, you could go for a Dubravka, you could go for maybe, I don't know, one of their defenders, Lascelles for example. But I'll be honest with Newcastle, not fancying them too much. If they had Saint Maximin, Wilson and Almiron, then maybe you could go for one of them. But the fact that they're not there and they're facing such a good defence in Brighton, on paper, if you're thinking of it logically, it doesn't make too much sense. But sometimes some of these picks can be very good for you. From Arsenal, I think, yeah, Tierney, Aubameyang, Lacazette even, and Saka if he's fit. Those would be the main ones I'd be looking at. But maybe as a differential, depending on the lineup, as I keep on saying, on Thursday, you could go for a Nicola Pepe. This could be one where he does well. He actually scored in the 3-1 victory last time round at West Ham Stadium. So it is possible, and he even got an assist in that game. So maybe Pepe could be a very good differential. Who knows? But with Arsenal and Spurs, what I would recommend, whether you're doing transfers or you're activating your free hit, look at the lineup on Thursday, and then from that, try make educated guesses, maybe speak to some Arsenal Spurs fans or check forums and stuff like that, and try to garner who's going to start at the weekend. So that would be my advice to you if you're looking to bring in Arsenal or Spurs players in. And as for the attack, there is Bamford, who's an injury doubt, and there's Kane and Antonio. It's very template, I understand that, but that's why I've been recommending some of these other players. There's Marja, there's Lacazette, for example, and maybe if Bamford's out, you could go for Rodrigo, and he could be that little differential that you need. So there's different ways to go about it. And I know he's not going to be very popular this week, but Watkins, he's got a good record against the top 6. I think he could do well against Spurs. Do I think he's going to get double digits? No, but he could get maybe 6 to 8 points. That is definitely possible. And Watkins is capable of causing damage to Spurs. The only problem is that since Grealish has obviously been absent, Aston Villa have just declined drastically, especially offensively, and Watkins is feeding off scraps, to be honest. He is a volume shooter, and he's just not getting that volume right now. He's not getting that many chances. And then, that's what I would probably recommend from all those teams. Newcastle attack is probably the one I favour the least, any strikers, but maybe a Joelinton will work for you. Who knows? But it's maybe a shame that Callum Wilson isn't playing, for those who want to target Newcastle. But those are the sort of players I'd be looking at. So remember, other than the players you see on screen, there is Tierney, there's Saka, if he's fit, Lacazette, Pepe. I think Pepe could be a very good different pick. And then from Brighton, Pascal Grosch and Trossard. And then from Leeds, maybe a Tyler Roberts instead, if you want to go different there. I would probably recommend him, or Rodrigo. And from West Ham, I think, Lingard, Creswell, Antonio would be my top picks. I probably wouldn't go elsewhere. Maybe Soufal could do something, to be fair. Trying to think, maybe Bowen actually, maybe I have a feeling about him, but other than that, not too much. From Fulham, there's Anderson, there's Aina, there's Areola, Lookman and Marja. Other than that, probably not too much. So those are the sort of players I'd be looking at. From Spurs, you could have Lloris in goal or Reguilon in defence. Those are the sort of players I'd be looking at for sure. And have I even missed anyone out? Oh, Newcastle, to be honest, I don't think I could even think of 3 players, but Lascelles, Dubravka, and maybe a Joelinton, but to be honest, I just don't feel it with him. He scores like once every 40 games, unfortunately. Those are the sort of players I'd be looking at. From Villa, Watkins, still Target is an option for his assist potential. Martinez, because he's just such a great FPL asset. But maybe if you want to go different, maybe Bertrand Traore if he's fit, or El Ghazi, just for that goal potential. Those would be the sort of picks I'd be looking at for Game Week 29. And as I discussed before, from this team that you see on screen, I'd be starting Sanchez, Dunk, Dallas and Creswell. And in the midfield, I'd have Rafinha, Aubameyang, Bale and Lingard. And obviously, depending on if Son is fit or Bamford, obviously that plays a part in it. And then, one of Son or Bamford, Kane and Antonio. That would be my ideal 11, but there are other ways you can go about it. Maybe Watkins is going to outperform Antonio. You never know. These things can happen. But thank you for watching this video. Hopefully, you have found this very useful. And if you have, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers, so I'd greatly appreciate if you share this video around, and any comments that you have, whether it's feedback on this team, what you think of my normal team, and also plans going into Game Week 30 and beyond, which is still very important, then let me know. I'd greatly appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram too. I am active on those platforms. You can contact me there, whether it's through DMs or just public messages, you can do so. So I'd greatly appreciate all of that, and all the very best of luck for Game Week 29, as I said in my team selection video, and hopefully we keep getting those green arrows, and just enjoy the game, have fun. Obviously rank is, you want to have a good rank, but not everything is about rank, so just keep on going and have fun. That's the most important thing, and I greatly appreciate all the support, and I'll see you next time, hopefully.